Gentlemen, it is 7 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to City Council. Today is Thursday, June 16th. We have a lot to get to this evening, so I want to go ahead and open the meeting. We will observe our traditional moment of silent reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to be recognized if I could.
Okay. The floor is yours, Mr. Sanders.
We have a momentous occasion to recognize, not only on one occasion, but two momentous occasions to recognize. 33 years ago, the gentleman to my left was made his arrival into this world, Robert N. Skinner III. And since then, he has kept everyone, I believe, in his home and anyone who's come in contact and all of us on our toes. And I think we need to recognize his birthday. But before we do that, to the left of him, 64 years ago, this young guy arrived into the world. I know Dr. Reed took care of the mayor. I have no idea if there were even doctors around back then. I can say that because he and I are the same age. So Mr. Rigger's birthday is today too, and I think that deserves recognition, a round of applause. And I'm not leaving to anyone in the star.
Jack and I have been birthday twins around here since we met each other. We figured that out, and also I texted Sarah Stankus last night because we said we should have had her at this meeting instead of last meeting because today is also her birthday. So
thank you, Mr. Mayor, for recognizing.
Sure, thank you. As we get started tonight, we had quite the day in the region. And so I think we all know by now what happened on the interstate 14 miles to our west this morning. Chief Deputy Mike Coffin was shot while assisting, Upshur County deputies were assisting Lewis County deputies with an active shooter situation on Interstate 79 at mile marker 99.5 this morning around 10:45. And so we were over there because we are in small communities, and when you have issues like that, it requires the help of neighbors. So Harrison and Upshur both responded, and as they were working to capture the suspect, Mike was hit with a bullet. Mike had surgery this afternoon, and he is expected to make a full recovery. So we are very thankful for that. It was a more of a flesh muscle wound to his leg. So please keep Mike and his family in your prayers this evening and in the coming days as they decompress from that incident today. And you know, we are so fortunate to live in a small community, but these acts of violence are coming closer to us. And I think, you know, now more than ever, we need to support our law enforcement agencies, and I'm very thankful for Chief Gregory and our city police department. I'm thankful for our sheriff's department, and you know, because just because that happened over, you know, just the county to our west doesn't mean it couldn't have happened over here as well. And just a few weeks ago in Marion County, there was an active shooter situation near East Fairmont High School. So it's coming closer, and we all can't forget about the deputy that was killed in Birch River in Nicholas County 2 weeks ago. So please keep Mike and his family in your prayers, as well as our sheriff's department and our city police department here in Buckhannon, who are all safe, by the way. Okay, to begin the meeting this evening, we have a few recognized guests. We have Pete Thaxton with USI Insurance Services. If you'll recall, the city entered in a couple of years ago with an agreement with USI, who helps bring us the PEIA insurance coverage for our employees. This is our health insurance provider, and it is time to execute that renewal and that consulting agreement with Mr. Thaxton. So I will turn the floor over to him. This is F1 for our approval, so at the conclusion of Mr. Thaxton's remarks, I would like to move F1 to the table for execution. So, good evening,
This
Pete.
conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everybody. The main thing that I want to talk about is, and I've talked with Andy about it, is, the upcoming renewal that we're, executing for July 1, that's a done situation, but we still have several outstanding issues going on within the state of West Virginia with PEIA. Most of you all are aware that there's quite a hoopla down in the legislature about the reimbursement levels that the hospitals are receiving from PEIA, which is considerably below the Medicare rates. So the Hospital Association, along with several of the major hospital entities, have gone to the legislature about getting these reimbursements increased. I don't think there's any question that's going to happen. If they tried to get it through the legislature this past year, it went through the Senate and passed, but it did not. They did not have time in the House. So what is going on specifically is in attempting to reach a happy medium, if you will. They want to take the reimbursement levels up to 110% of Medicare. It's currently 60% of Medicare. And what that means from an actuarial standpoint.
Hey, Pete, time out for 1 second. We've got a train going through. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Am I good?
You're good.
That, from an actuarial standpoint, that would increase the cost of claims by 8%, okay, relative to necessary premium. The thought process is that 110% is what they're going to try to get worked out. And that would be on top of any other increase, of which I also want to address. So right now, the way the actuarial tables are for July 1, 2023, if that was right now, the normal increase would be 12%. Now things can change. And what has happened is, like before COVID hit, there was going to be an increase, but then COVID hit, and all of a sudden claims started dropping universally. Whether it's PEIA, the Blue Cross plans, whatever, because eligible services, could not be done. So what is happening now is if the claims are playing catch-up, services are playing catch-up for where all that was delayed due to COVID. Okay? So now what you have on your hands is an influx of claims on a normalized basis, but then you also have additional claimants that are coming through because of services that had to be delayed. So, in my discussions, and I had a discussion again this week, who I worked through is the CFO of PEIA, Jason Hott. He's also the acting executive director. What they're wanting to do, what they would like to work out, is to get a step-up approach on the increase that's going to be necessary relative to an increase in reimbursements. So if it goes through, as I mentioned, at the 110% level, then that means an 8% increase in the cost of claims. What they would like to do is to phase that in over a 3-year period. So for simplicity purposes, let's call it 9%. It's going to be 8, call it 9. So in other words, if this goes through and they work it out, then next July 1st, again, you would have a regular increase. And that regular increase right now is calling for 12%. Now that is subject to change, okay? but then you would have another 3%, then the next year, another 3%, and then the third year, another 3%, instead of just 8% all at once. I would be shocked if something does not happen. I think it's going to happen. Jason, Mr. Hott down at PEI thinks it's going to happen. And if there was just no question about it. So, you know, in talking with Andy about this, we just thought it was a good idea, to get out in front of this to let you know. Because again, it's not until July next year. But, there'll be time to plan, time to think about this thing, to prepare for it. I would not also be surprised if there was a change in plan designs. I don't know anything about if they're going to do that, but I would not be surprised if they would tweak it a little bit to try to bring the numbers down. So there's a whole lot going on. The other thing is that I also found out with Jason this week was in the beginning last year going through the legislature, what got a lot of people upset was they were targeting the non-state entities, counties and cities, okay? And the state employees, that plan was not being targeted for anything. Well, that has changed. This is going, as I understand it, it is going to apply to the PEIA state plan as well as the non-state plan. So that's going to present a bigger problem on the state side. Their plan is running much hotter, so to speak, in claims utilization than the non-state plan. So there's definitely some issues coming. Again, there's still some, potential that some of this could slow down in terms of the claims. None of us within the industry are surprised by the claims due to the delay of COVID. And that's basically where we... So Andy thought it'd be a good idea, and talk with Robbie about, having me speak today to get in front of it, to answer any questions.
Well, Pete, what's the bottom line here as far as our gross increase in providing the current level of services?
Well, did you say with other insurance?
No, with yours. How much more is this potentially going to cost the city to provide insurance?
Oh, okay. So, again, on one hand, I'm going to reiterate that, we're talking July of next year, so a whole lot of things will change, okay? But let's just assume that the actuarial claims do increase claims. If that was right now, the renewal's going right now, that would be 12%. And then let's assume that they work it out, if they get at the level increase reimbursement, and let's say they phase it in, then you basically be looking at another 2 3/4 or so. So if that were right here, right now, and not July of 2023, then you'd be staring under that scenario of approximately 14.5% to 15%.
Okay. On premium increases?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Now again, that is nothing more than a very early actuarial estimate.
Right. Thank you.
So there's still time for it to slow down.
Right.
The utilization. And then of course you got political pressures.
Right.
But I mean, it's a big issue. It's a big issue. I mean, they would prefer to work this. I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Okay. It's a big issue because you've got the talent in the hospital industry with this pushing very hard. A lot of the legislature makeup like it or not, there's a lot of, let's just say, medical industry people in the legislature. So, there's definitely some issues coming down the pipe, and it has spread its tentacles over onto the state employee side as well.
Well,
Now, an increase, I don't want to ever downplay any kind of increases. This is going on in the private markets. Fortunately, we were way ahead of the game after we moved from the self-insured side. Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, going into the renewal, I think we were booking savings for the county of up to $700,000. And that was before the renewal. And I saw enough data to lead me to believe that $700,000 number would go up considerably. Because I felt like you all would have a very adverse renewal on that self-insured plan.
Thanks, Pete.
thank you, Pete, for the explanation.
Thank you.
I want to assure the council too that the agreement that we sign with USI Insurance, it remains the same this year as it has in the past. We have historically paid Pete $20,000 annually to be paid quarterly at $5,000 increments for Pete to come to Buckhannon, which he does faithfully each month to meet with our employees should they have any questions or concerns about the current health insurance plan that we provide. And I will say, having gone through Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, the Roundstone self-insured plan, and now the PEIA plan, our employees seem to be the happiest and the most seems to be covered across the spectrum for all of our employees from a prescription and from a procedural standpoint through PEIA. So, and if you'll recall, the premiums when we were in the private sector, we were well over $1 million in annual premium, and when we were receiving 15% increases annually, that was $150,000 to $200,000 each year that we were increasing the premium. That we're still a good bit below $1 million in premium with PEIA. So this is still a very cost-effective measure to take for our employees. And if it keeps people happy, then I'm happy. So I would suggest, it would be my recommendation to you that you approve me to be able to sign and execute the agreement with Mr. Thaxton and USI Insurance for the agreement for 2022, which is F1 on the agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rylands, a second by Mr. Thomas. Is there any further discussion? Hearing the need for none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Pete, I'll sign it and then we'll send it to you. And then once you sign it, if you wouldn't mind just to send a copy back to us for our records, and then
Sure.
you can have that for yours, and we'll proceed as business as usual for the coming year.
Sure. Okay, thank you. And just so you know, that I'll be continuing to work with Mr. Hawk down at PEIA and Amby and I in that so that we can I can put together various ideas and thoughts as we get closer to next year to try to minimize the pain as much as possible.
Okay, we appreciate it.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
Have a good evening, good weekend.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Before we get to Mr. Mills, I need to show you what his wife did. Don't worry, Mike. It's good stuff. So remember when she was here before, we were talking about, just for everybody's knowledge, West Virginia Living Magazine is edited and produced by Nikki Bowman Mills, who runs this publication out of Morgantown. It is a fabulous publication. It is a very classy look at West Virginia from a holistic standpoint, from our food to our drinks to our small towns, to the beautiful vistas and rivers and all the fun stuff that we get to do in West Virginia. And so they've started a series, and they started it with Wheeling, and they had a whole thing about why Wheeling. Why would you live in Wheeling? What's cool about Wheeling? Well, guess what? We have why Buckhannon. So there's several pages here of story about our city of Buckhannon, the arts culture that we enjoy, the outdoor recreation that we enjoy, our beautiful downtown. Westland is featured in there. It's a really nice write-up about all that we are and all that we have to celebrate here in Buckhannon and Upshur County. So, Michael, will you please tell Nikki how much we appreciate the nice free publicity that we get in this magazine for our community. And we also want to thank Citizens Bank of West Virginia, Fishhawk Acres, and West Virginia Wesleyan College for sponsoring ads in this to help with the publication. So please tell her how much we appreciate the write-up about Buckhannon. So now, floor is yours.
Pop that.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for the opportunity to meet with you this evening. And certainly, both Nikki and I enjoy working in small communities like Buckhannon. It's a privilege to be here, a privilege to work on a great project that I feel is going to make a wonderful difference in your community. These are the things that get us excited as architects, designers, community changers. So we're excited. So tonight we're here to present the Stockard Youth and Community Center. We've had the privilege to work with the commission for about 8 months. I think we've been meeting on various monthly meetings. So the result of this building really comes from a dialogue with them, kind of a needs assessment and programmatic data that came from the users. So what we're looking at is about 11,500 square foot building. Really a large, in the back you see a large meeting room or large event center. It houses a basketball court, about a 50 by 90 basketball court, but certainly the idea is it's a multi-purpose room for events, fairs, other things that could happen here. It's a multi-purpose room. So with bleachers that could fold away. That is seen as really a metal structure. And ideally clad, all of it is clad in brick. The whole structure, you see here some renderings up front, and I'm going to show a video here in a minute to give you the full perspective of it. But it's really, the idea is to be a contextual building. The front part of the building, it's 2 stories, so one of the challenges, and ideally we would have loved to have done a 2-story building, but just the program and being mindful of budget, that wasn't part of the equation. So it really is a 1.5 stories. At the front, it's raised about 3.5, 4 feet off the grade, accessed by a ramp here and a set of stairs. So the first entry level, we've got a little reception area, vestibule, the blue down here in this plan, and I'll show it again here up on the screen, but is kind of a check-in desk. It has an elevator, a janitor's closet, kind of a workout room, an office, and then 2 public restrooms on that first floor, men's and women's. The lower floor, and this plan's been updated since our last meeting, and you'll see it here in a minute. Really, we have some locker rooms, storage room, and we've talked about maybe with the funding that storage room might actually serve as emergency shelter storage type stuff. And I think we're exploring some funding that would tie to that storage room. On the back side, we've got a storage room for the basic stuffs, whether it be basketballs, other nets and whatnot in the right here, and on the left here, and on the right would be the concession stand. The other aspect of this is we see it being connected to the existing Stockard building, and I'll show it here in a video. You'll see it a little more clearly. But between the 2 buildings, what is shown here, and this is just conceptual, is kind of an outdoor classroom or outdoor amphitheater, a place to meet, is really kind of putting a face on the street to kind of engage that space between the 2 buildings. I think it's a special little spot, and we didn't want it to be just a dark alley. So we're bringing some life to it, and that's also the connecting element, from a pedestrian perspective to the back fields, and also there is could be an enclosed covered connector between this building here in this corner to the existing building. So just programmatically, that's, in the layout of things, that's where it's at. And I'm going to share with you a little video that we pulled together that kind of gives you a little better overall perspective of this. That gives you a little kind of bigger picture and three-dimensional from the outside and a little bit of the glimpse on the inside. So we're excited with the project and certainly want to open it up to any questions that the council might have.
Any questions?
I have one. The back of the building, why are those buildings slanted in the back?
Just architecturally, those are shed roofs to go over that concession stand and over that storage room. Just kind of the architectural flair. I mean, certainly could be sloped the other way. It was an architectural decision.
Is it
We've
basic?
seen this evolve, you know, as we raise money over the years. You know, I remember conceptualizing a metal building that was going to go down there, and we got, you know, there was a sense of urgency that we got to get this thing started. And then we started thinking about entertaining possibilities of grant money out there. And we got some funding to research that and kind of found out that there isn't a lot of grant money for recreation buildings. And then as a process, the board went and got you and envisioned what would meet their needs. And I think we only have one opportunity to do this. You know, we're not going to go building another building like this for another 30 years. That, you know, COVID was part of it, but that we possibly haven't reached out enough into the community to see what their expectations of a community center are. I mean, you work with the board, but maybe it's time or an opportunity to try to broaden and vision and look at the whole property, you know. And the old building, I was advocating that they be connected, because if we move everything over there, that's going to become a relic. And I would, you know, I'm not afraid to invest money in things, tangible things like this. And so I would like to elevate the old building in conjunction with offering this new space and do one fell swoop, so to speak. But I think I would also like to see, you know, some public charrettes or planning sessions, or reach out, you know, someone goes out to different groups and meet with them and get, you know, what do they want to see in a community recreation center. And I think, you know, I like all what you've done here, but I just would like to get more people involved in the process. That's kind of and take the old building and do something altogether.
Remodel it? Are you saying
I would,
remodel?
we're not, when would we ever do anything? If we borrow the money to build this, we're not gonna go back and borrow money to fix the old one up. And then what, how do you supervise all that space? I think it needs to be a thoughtful integration, so to speak,
Well, I will say, I mean, the Stockard Youth Board has spent months with you and collecting input. I mean, people have attended the Stockard Youth Board meetings, which is where a lot of this has been facilitated up until this point. But, if we're seeking, even more people to be involved, it seems to make the most sense to have that vehicle be what carries us to a product like this, where we're here at council, because we could be here for hours on end, taking, all of our suggestions and fielding comments. That's kind of what we've used the Stockard Youth Board meetings for, to channel those so that we have Michael one-on-one, and we want to tweak this, we want to tweak that. There's been a lot of tweaking.
Yeah, and I don't think those were done behind closed doors.
No, those are all public meetings, you're correct.
Yeah, and I'm not implying that that's what happened, but I don't think, at our luncheon meeting today, I asked is how many people, know what's going there and and I think Don was the only one that was aware because he's on the board. So I would just think the community's going to be paying this back for 40 years. And I'm not afraid to take a little more time and spend a little more money or a lot more money and get what is going to serve this community for the next several decades.
One thing I want to clarify, CJ, is I don't think anyone's ever advocated moving everything out of the old building into the new building, and I know that's been tossed around a lot.
Yeah.
That you're going to move everything out of the old building and put it on a new building, and the old building's not going to be used anymore. That old building is going to be used pretty much the way it's being used now. I don't think there's any classrooms that the Board of Education are using that's going to move. I don't even think the administrative part is going to move to the new building. It's still going to be housed in the old building, so it's going to be really active, the old building. It's not going to close up.
Well, then we might
But I
want to
think
think
it's careful.
about life safety, sprinkler systems, and other things that would elevate it to if you're going to do something, you do it all at once and spend the amount of money to get it done. And if you're borrowing money at 3 or 4% for 40 years, I'd say with the 18% actual inflation rate, that's not a bad decision. But
Sheila, did you have any?
I agree with CJ. I just would like to see a little more with the community involvement. And I agree with him. What's a little time for something that's going to be there permanently? And you want to do it right. That's going to be something that's really amazing for our town. So make sure that it's going to be used by lots of people in our town, and everybody's going to be satisfied. I think that a little time is well worth it. Thank you.
I think the community's had opportunities to participate in the process, and to me, this is like purchasing church carpeting. Everybody's going to have a call and an opinion, and I do appreciate the work that's been accomplished at this point. That was a fabulous presentation. Thank you.
And we had and we began this with a public meeting, I believe.
Yeah. And so I don't know what else to say. I think that having more public meetings will just create more angst, and I think that decisions need to be made. Not everyone's going to be happy, and people will be happy, and that's the way this is going to go. So that's my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents, and I'll give you $1 for coffee at McDonald's. All right?
I want us to keep in mind too, we've got to be careful with the land as well. I mean, if there's more that we want included in this, the reason we've bought the properties that, or the reason we purchased the properties that we purchased, if you'll recall, was to turn this long ways on East Main Street, not perpendicular because of the flood zone. We really want to keep this away from the flood zone because long term, it'll pay for itself just by keeping it out of that. I mean, so we have to be careful in the footprint of the physical plant as to where it goes larger than where it is now. Because as it stands right now, I believe, and Jay's not here to pull the map up, but I believe in what he and I have looked at and what Michael's looked at, we are very close to that line as to what would put us in the 100-year flood zone. We really can't go much further away from Main Street. We've just got the space that we've got. Now, I guess we could go up, but
I don't think that gets us anything. Programmatically, there's no
Right.
reason to go up, and it'd be the more cost that it doesn't make sense.
right. And I want to make sure we assure people too. All of our discussions have been about way more than just basketball. The reason you see the basketball floor is because that's one of the functions. It's probably like when you look at the Charleston Civic Center. The Charleston Civic Center has about a big basketball court in the middle of it, but the Charleston Civic Center also transitions into a concert setting where the floor gets rolled up and put away, and then they put a stage out there. They have wrestling in there where they put a big arena in. They have monster truck rallies where they truckload dirt into it. So it is a multi-purpose facility. It won't be just for basketball. That's just one of the functions.
That's what gets painted on the floor.
Yeah.
What's on there.
Right. But so if we have a Strawberry Festival craft show in there, there'll be a tarp down over the floor and you'll set the vendors up. If we have an indoor festival Fridays, there'll be tarps down, the vendors will get set up. Anything that we would use that large of a space for in our community can be housed right there in that facility without disturbing the floor. We just cover it up, roll the tarp back up, and when we were ready to put basketball back in.
The nice thing is the media is going to be putting this out to the public sector more so than it ever has been before, just by fact of tonight's meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can invite public comment back as well, and we can post the video on the website. We can do that, and obviously that would gather some public comment back. And if you want to call for a public meeting to take a look at this design, and Michael could call in or come visit us again for another public meeting. I think if there's enough council members that has that concern, we probably should put it out there and schedule it.
I don't
Show
think
this
we want to, why rush one of the biggest investments we've ever made as a municipality. This is up there with...
I would say let's urge people to respond, though, because if we say, well, we only got a half a dozen out for this meeting, let's wait 3 months to do another meeting, and we only got 12 out, let's wait a year.
I think it can be done in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between inviting someone to a public meeting. We see how many public meetings we had here, no one shows up. It's kind of viewed as a hostile environment to some. And
public meetings, OCJ, are not publicized well enough that everybody knows there's going to be a public meeting. I think it's in the paper, and it might be out on Channel 3. Most of us don't get Channel 3 that aren't on cable, so we don't know when public meetings are.
so maybe what I'm saying is, go around to where the groups meet, whether it's a senior center or a Chamber of Commerce luncheon, or just ask, share this and see if it's aligned with their expectations and what they want in a community center, and tweak it a little bit.
Just do a speaking tour.
What's that, Don?
A speaking tour.
I agree.
Where you actually go to the people out there and just say, this is...
Yeah, I mean, you could go. I'd be glad to go any meeting and just kind of consensualize this.
We can certainly email it.
That would be great.
We did that with the recreation complex that we built up at Centerton 112 years ago, or whenever that was. Once it was decided what was going to be up there and then we went and we talked to the different organizations and we showed them what it was, got their approval with it, And then we raised over $1 million to do it.
The more buy-in you have, and the more people are aligned with it and have thought or think they've had a voice or have had a voice in it, the more support you have. And, I'm not saying this is 6 months or a year. We could do this in a couple of months.
I'd still be planning in the meantime.
But it's a
I like it.
council's decision.
If I may sometime, I'd like to get some thoughts from the council.
Sure, we just need to try to
Yeah,
coordinate
yeah.
microphones.
Yeah.
Michael, do you have anything more? Is it okay if we let Dawn maybe, because Dawn is on our soccer youth board, so, but if you wouldn't mind sticking around so that we.
Well, I appreciate Michael giving the presentation. I think the video presentation, and I've sat through all these meetings with Deborah and everybody else. I think that was pretty exciting. See what could happen there, what it could actually look like, and I think from us as a city and the council and the county, and I think all of us, we understand the importance of our youth. We really do. That's what we've, for the last 25 years we've been working on this thing, and it's developed. And I think it's great what we're considering here. I think this is really a tremendous opportunity, and it's out there for our kids. We talk about saving people. We talk about first responders and the importance of first responders to save people's lives. This really saves people's lives. This does, and it may not be many. It may be a lot. We don't know. But from the standpoint, I think, of the speaking tour, like you mentioned, CJ, I think that could be something you could go to the groups and say, we just have a short presentation to talk about, and show them what the thoughts are, but also to get some ideas. Because, Michael, as you mentioned, as we went through this at Stockard with the different plans, other suggestions or ideas came up. One of the last ones was when you have the stairs going downstairs and the elevator, and then you have people exiting the gymnasium, the back part of the land that goes down to Florida Street may be a place to put a larger exit out of the building, not only for ease of getting out, but also for safety purposes. And that's something that just as he presented the building plans, we sit there and go, well, what about this? Because it's an asset we have with that extra strip of land back there. So I think those things can come out of these meetings. And I think we also want to move ahead, though, as quickly as we can. And we don't want to rush it, but I think we want to really move ahead, because every year we lose kids. Kids move through this community, whether they go somewhere else or they graduate or they get in trouble. And I think every year we have that potential loss of reaching out to some kids. And the program is multifaceted. CJ, you mentioned about at Craig Buckhannon today, one of the questions was, is this all recreation? I'm going, well, we have the alternative school there, we have the PALS program from the school system, and we're having over 12,000 hours on the average of youth involvement every month, without considering the PALS program and the alternative school. So there's a lot of activities there. All the schools in the county get kids dropped off there after school for an after school program, whether parents may be working and stuff. There's just a lot of things going on there, and I think we could get more interest. Deborah and I talked this week to the folks at Senior Citizens. I know the president of Senior Citizens down here, about them seeing what's going on there, because they don't really know not only what's in the facility right now, but what could be in this new facility for them to consider with the activities inside, walking around inside, whatever it might be. So I think there's a lot of potential there, and I think it's great what we, especially you, the council, is considering here, and I'm pretty pumped up about this.
Really, that's 12,000 hours you talked about. That's, if kids are there for 12,000 hours, they're not out back somewhere,
Yeah.
And with the new structure, a thoughtful, community-inspired building, then it'll be more hours. But to me, we want to broaden this beyond, I mean, it is the Stockard Youth that was formed. I want this to be more, I would envision it to be more of a broader community center where we can get older people and younger people in the same building that both groups benefit.
Yeah.
You know, and to touch as many people as we can and utilize it as, you know.
And I think your comment, CJ, about looking at the existing building, and is there anything we need to enhance on that?
Yeah, where does that, what can we do?
Because if we're going to be spending some money now, if it takes something that's significant change there, instead of having a building beside there, it's very functional. We salvaged a building that was a grade school that was going to be, in terrible shape if we hadn't salvaged it and improved it. Put a lot of money into it for Mrs. Stockard and for other people. And I think the city and the county have both been very instrumental in keeping that going. But it can be more. There may be some things that we could do. We ought to think about that. Yeah. But I'll go ahead and move ahead at this point. And I think it's almost unlimited what this could be, not only for the kids, for the youth, but also for the adults, and make it special like a lot of Buckhannon is. It's just a special place. So, but appreciate everybody's support, and I think welcome any comments, suggestions. We just need to move ahead. This is a good time.
As a Stockard Youth and Community Center board member, Don, do you think the board should pass it on to council now and have council take it out to the community and present it, or should it be presented by the Stockard Youth and Community Board? And I asked CJ the same question. Who should
we're
take
all in it together.
Yeah. I think it'd be good
Because
to
it's
have
going to be, as a communications person, it's going to have to be, it's going to be a difficult choice as who's going to take this out on the road.
Right,
You don't
because
just go
it
out
needs
and
to
put a
be-
video up and go, there it is. Tell us if you don't like it, don't like it, don't like it. You got to have somebody that can facilitate a proper and well thought out
That's
discussion.
one of your specialties, Mr. Sanders.
I don't know how much time I have.
Marketing and communication.
Right, because here's the thing, I just made some quick notes. I mean, if we're gonna do a community listening tour, I've listed Chamber, Creek, Buckhannon, Senior Center, School System, and out of the school system, what demographic? Upshur County Rec Complex Board, Upshur County Trails. And that's just the first, 7 that come to mind. This needs to be consistent. You have to. You can't put out different messages to everybody. There has to be a consistent message, and there has to be people there that know the score, can answer the questions intelligently, and be able to properly, as Mr. Sanders just said very well, to transition that feedback back into something that is positive to bring back to that we can help Michael, and this is time consuming. I mean, this is a lot of time to go and to get all this input. We just have to, and we need to make sure that if we're going to go visit these people, they have as many members of their organizations as possible at these meetings.
I mean, this is listening tour. We're not telling them we're showing them what this is and what are their expectations of a building like this. And hey, if two. Are
you coming?
Yeah, I'll be glad to participate.
And I think a combination, as you mentioned, combination of the Stockard board and the council to go out and present this would be good. And we could put a consistent package together. So everyone that goes out would have this with a video or whatever it might be to present. And then have folks here to answer questions and just
ask questions.
Right.
Ask questions.
I would kick it off soon because I've been contacted today to speak to one of the groups in town. They said their next opening for a person will be October 15th.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to get on the agendas, which we could do. We could talk to the chamber, and obviously Craig, we could do the presentation there anytime.
Amby, in the light of interest rate increases, this money that we're borrowing, is it going to increase anytime eminently, or was the Federal Reserve rate changes?
The interest rates are going to go up. There's no doubt about that. Inflation is going to go up, so
Right.
the quicker you can act, the better.
Well, a 30-year mortgage has doubled.
Right, in the last year. But the money we're talking about borrowing was fixed at 4%?
2.5 is what we
2.5% for 40 years?
Yeah.
I don't think you'll get it.
Is that at risk of if we don't do something in 6
Yes.
months?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So that would be our time frame to get some
And I think for the opportunity to speak to these groups, we need to be a little pushy on that.
yeah,
Cordial, you know,
special meeting.
give you a
or-
hug, hey, we want to come out and speak to you, we really do want to come out and speak to you. Because this is important to our youth and our older citizens and our community. I think this is kind of the time. And I think we'll have a good buy-in. There'll be a lot of us that are anxious to tell the story. And I think we have a good story, we have a really good story to tell on this story.
So, Don, I appreciate all the time that you've done on this over the years with Stocker. But you know, let's take another look at this. If we don't do this, we still have a great community. And as you're saying, there are 12,000 hours a month now for our youth. Have we thought about what the incremental benefit's going to be with spending probably $3.5 million on this complex? I mean, that's a lot of money. And CJ, I appreciate.
Not that much anymore, but yeah, I don't take it lightly.
Yeah,
But it's an investment.
I agree with you. I appreciate what you've said, that we need to go out there a little bit and talk to the different organizations. I remember 4 or 5, 6 months ago that we were sort of de-emphasizing the youth aspect and putting community in replace for youth, Stockton Community Center rather than Stockton Youth Center. Are we still talking like that now?
I don't think we're diminishing the
No.
youth.
I wouldn't
We're
diminish- I
trying
wouldn't diminish the
to add in other age groups.
But I remember one meeting, we talked about, you know, going out for grants and so forth, that we needed to emphasize not just the youth, but the entire community. I mean, maybe I don't remember what, I thought I remembered, but I thought we said that at some point in time.
Well, I think, Dave, some of that was in response to the fact that we can't just raise money from some of these grants if it's a recreation facility for youth. That's just not possible to us. I think it was expanding and maybe developing more the idea. It is a community center. It is for adults for citizens of all ages. And I think the thing that you mentioned, Dave, about, you know, is just something that we should go ahead and do now. What could happen? We have a lot of activity now. I think we're at risk on, can we maintain that 12,000 hours? Because some folks, like Deborah does a great job. Deborah's not going to work forever here. She might feel like she is, but she's not. And I think we run the risk of losing the support of people who have been there all the time. And then also, one of the things that in coordinating our facility, we have to depend a lot and coordinate with the school system. And their system is stressed very much because of, we have to share gymnasium space, we have to share, you know, a lot of things. They have 2 classes in our building. And I think the coordination with what's going on in the education thing is important. I'm not sure how long that's going to be at the level it's at now.
I agree with you, Don. I think one of the other things we need to take a very serious look at is what is the impact in regard to the operating budget for the city. And if you take a look at what we've done the last X amount of years, you know, we now have the conference center out there with the National Armory and so forth. And, you know, we have individuals that work in that capacity. We have the Colonial Theater that is in the process of being finalized as far as the renovation and so forth. And we hired Ann Wilson. And I guess my question is, what kind of synergies can we have from an operating budget to sort of tie that whole thing together? The conference center, the economic development, and Colonial Theater, and the Stockard Youth and Community Center. It's not only brick and mortar, isn't it? It's also what's the impact, the incremental impact on your operating budget as far as utilities are concerned, and also staffing. And I think when we take a look at this, we need to keep that in mind. It's not just brick and mortar. I've seen a lot of colleges get really excited about brick and mortar, and then all of a sudden, they realize there's a lot more cost to it other than just the bricks and mortar.
Well, absolutely, David, and I appreciate your concern there. And I think this is a package for Buckhannon. It's like the things you mentioned, it's a package for Upshur County. It just is. And I think to make us be able to continue to grow, to attract people who come here that want to live here, and it's got to be a package of all the things you've talked about here, economic development and for senior citizens, for youth, whatever. And we have the opportunity here with the land next door. Council's done a great job of picking up the other parcels of land. Mary, you mentioned about the concept of the placement of the building and the flood zone. I think we're moving to a direction. Unfortunately, I think if we step back and we don't make the move, I think we'll start losing that incentive out there, and it'll have a shadow on what we're trying to do here in the community. And not that we don't need to pay attention to that, Dave. I'm an accountant. I understand how important that is, but also I think we also, if we believe enough in what's going on here, just like in our own case, when we're going to build a house, we're going to stay in the old house. Are we going to expand? If we sit there and say, but it's something we got to do, we'll figure it out some way.
I don't have an overriding concern, Don. I just wanted to throw that out. You can't just look at bricks and mortar. You have to look at what are the, and once that's completed, what kind of operating expenses are you going to have? I mean, I was advocating strongly for sales tax. And I think it's made a major change in our community for the future. And, we're looking at, as I've mentioned several times in meetings before, we're going to get $20 million in sales tax money the next 10 years. That's a lot of money. And we do have a lot of needs in our infrastructure that we're doing now. And we've got a long time to catch up on what we haven't done, like a lot of smaller communities. But that $20 million is going to make a huge difference for us. And that's why I was really in favor of the sales tax for this community in the county. And it's going to be helpful for us.
Well,
so I'm not concerned about what it's going to cost necessarily until we see the figures.
yeah.
So what I would recommend is reach out to USDA or whoever we're borrowing the money from, get a response as to what they think, when is a time frame for locking something in. We set out to start these meetings, next week, and get that information. We try to make a decision in the next couple of months.
Establish a target, a timeline, and work to the time.
And then,
I agree. But I appreciate council and all the folks you're doing, and Michael and the Star Board. The community itself has really done a great job from this starting off just an idea. And we started 25, 30 years ago. Should we accept this $500,000 from Mrs. Stockard? Should we take that move? Then where should we go? And we've come a long way and affected a lot of people. We fall off today. The big thing we had was several years ago was regional jails cost so much. Can we afford to do that in Stockard? And our comment was, why are people going to regional jails? Because they didn't have Stockard. So I think there's a lot of real positives. I appreciate your time and sorry to take
the city stepped up to the plate.
Yeah.
When the county didn't want the money or the bill.
Okay.
All right,
That's great.
Yeah, Ron.
Can I just say one thing about this? Look at the footprint.
Would you please come to the microphone? Thank you.
Give me a mic and I'll never quit talking.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. I know.
We'll turn it off.
Okay. Look at the footprint of the city of Buckhannon. We don't take up a lot of property. We don't have a lot of usable property to do projects like this one for the youth and for the people of our city. Now consider the footprint of the city of Bridgeport and what they've done with all they've got over there with the bridge that they have built for their people over there. You might consider this as to be our small bridge to the future for our kids and for the old people like me and CJ, for instance, you know, where we'll use that place too. But, you know, when we built the recreation complex years ago, the interest rates were way different. We were getting on our money for investment 18% interest in. So we had a lot of ways to do that. You're not doing that now. If you get 2.5%, 3% interest rates now on money, why wait till it goes up another % or 2%? Get the money and do it for the kids now. And I think it will help keep people out of the jails, and we wouldn't have so much problem with Chief Gregory filling up the holding cell we've got for one person. I think it's a good project, and I think the people of Buckhannon will be happy to see it, especially seeing that wonderful video that your company made, which just blew my mind to see that. I thought that only happened on the HGTV. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Good music, too.
Michael, thank you for coming, and we will continue this discussion, and really great presentation, and the video, I think, really helps drive it all home for us. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael.
Have a good weekend, and be safe going back to Morgantown.
Appreciate all your work and appreciate your patience with us.
Yeah.
You can do to help move it forward.
And thank your wife, thank your wife.
It's not how great the effort, it's how long we keep at it, right?
CJ is the number 118. Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to say about the recreation complex or the Soccer Youth and Community Center building before we head to department and board reports? Okay. First up is Jerry Arnold, who has brought his very beautiful wife here with us this evening. So we are
Be in trouble.
Yeah, it's date night in the Arnold house, and he brought her to city council. So
Wow. I love her glasses.
He had a short, she had a short for the hearing.
No, he's paying for the margarita.
where's ours?
Yes. Well, thank you, Mayor. I've got a very short report. I'm sorry, I know you are sorry to hear that.
We are.
Unless you all make it long. That's the only reason it will be.
We were expecting a song and dance and filibuster and everything else.
We'll keep expecting. Just a couple things that were slipped in as correspondence under my report was there's another delay in the generator delivery date for the generator for the public safety complex. Now they're giving us a date of January 20th, 2023 on that generator. And we were approved for the additional monies for the transportation enhancement grant for Gateway West. It's an additional $213,000 to complete that project, which will be to finish up the north side and do the south side project. The only other thing is I've got a little bit of information, additional information on the addressing. I told you at last meeting that we've gotten an email from the post office. It looks like there's a little over 230 addresses that they are requesting be changed. With that, I just did some quick numbers on that. That would affect about 15 streets in Buckhannon, which would have to be renumbered, and a little over 1,700 addresses that would have to be changed because of those 230 addresses. So that being said, I have reached out to Terry Jo Bennett with the county about if we were to go with just the county E911 addressing. She went back and pulled her files and has all the information that was collected in 2013. So there would be some legwork as far as verification from 2013 up to present on structures that have been raised or added in the city, as well as some site pictures that would have to be taken. But with that being said, I initially, just the number that jumped into my head, if we were to go that route, was about 25 or 30. I think we're looking at somewhere in the $5,000 range if we were to go that way. And I can tell you that from a labor perspective, it is going to be much more labor intensive and we currently do not have the staff to do it. It would be much more labor intensive to change just those 230 addresses and readdress those 15 streets than what it would to go with the county addressing system. That being said, it would be my recommendation, because then you would still, if you just change those, you would still have 2 different addressing formats in Upshur County. And I'm sure Matt can attest to this. I've talked to Chief Kimball as well. You know, the county, of course, with the mutual aid departments coming in, they're used to this addressing system in the county. There's 500 addresses to a mile and on each side. So they're used to, they know whenever when a number comes out, they know the approximate distance to that structure. The other part of that is, of course, we're talking about halves, A's, B's, and C's. It's extremely difficult. I don't know if any of you have tried to locate an apartment A, B, or C in Buckhannon. It is pretty difficult. And again, you know, the number one purpose of addressing, in my opinion, is life safety. Mm-hmm. And so I understand, and Dawn's here with me, she can attest to it. We've changed our address a couple times out in the county. And while it was a nuisance or irritation, it was not astronomical. And you know, it is.
It sounds like a much bigger undertaking than it really is, and you know, I want to make sure that people understand we would not be messing with this if this was if it was up to us. We did not wake up a few days ago and say we want to change everybody's address in Buckhannon. This is being handed down from the Postal Service, as you said, but I wholeheartedly believe that if we're going to do this, we accept the Upshur County 911 addressing, we make it consistent, we have one addressing platform in the entire county, and that way, if we're going to change addresses in the city, I want to do it one time. I don't, because if we change the 230 addresses that basically evolve into 1,700 addresses because of the fallout with it, I don't want in 2 years to have to come back and say, well, now we have to adopt the 911 addressing, and everybody who changed 2 years ago has to change again. If half of Buckhannon is going to change, let's go ahead and change. Let's just adopt it and accept it and move forward.
And pull the Band-Aid off all at once.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a national system. It
Yeah.
is not an Upshur County thing or a Lewis
Right.
County thing or a regional thing.
This should have been done back in 2009, 2010 when the county started it, but it wasn't. But I think this is our opportunity to correct it and make this consistent across the board.
And
You want a motion?
We don't have it on. We have a lot of work to do before we.
That being said, the first step would be to have our city attorney, Tom O'Neill, to look at the ordinance. We have a standalone addressing and mapping ordinance that says that we're not going with county mapping. So the very first thing that needs to be done, if it's the council's will, is to have Tom look at that ordinance, and that ordinance has to be revised in order for us to move forward with that. And Terry Jo Bennett has also offered up very graciously to attend meetings to answer questions as to what kind of things the county went through when advancing this E911 addressing, as well as she had recommended to me that we look at, if we're going to go that route, to look at doing sectors in the city as opposed to all at once. That way we get North Buckhannon all corrected, the addresses, the verification process done on the addresses, then move on to the next section in the city to change those addresses. So council, if council wants to move, if that's the desire of council to move in the direction of going with the county mapping and addressing, then the first thing we would have to do is have Tom tweak that ordinance.
Yeah.
And it would be on it, we would put it on the council agenda for next meeting.
Mayor, there's something I want you to mention. I don't remember if you, Mitch Tacey years ago, when we were talking about the addressing, it was suggested that somehow, some way, we need to have our people have the same consistency in the numbers or lettering, whatever the address is going to be on their house, because of when they go to try to find people. Some of them might be this big and you can't find. So
I think we really can only suggest that because it is private property and everybody has their own stylistic, but I think what our suggestion needs to be is that it is visible to the street, and whatever font, wherever you put it, it just needs to be visible.
Well, but it might be visible to you, but maybe not to me. Do you understand? That's why I'm saying for a safety reason is what Mitch Tacey had brought up years ago, for a certain size.
There's a recommended, in the E911
Right.
Mapping, there is a recommended, but again, as the mayor says, it comes down to, I don't think that you can actually force the issue, but it can be recommended, or it is recommended.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Take
Thanks,
care.
Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing your partner, too.
Director of Finance, Ann Jenkins.
Mine is going to be really short.
Go.
Okay, so in your balances for the enterprise funds, May the 31st, Waste Collection Board, $1,172,000, CD at $58,000, Water Board, $578,000, working capitals at $871,000. Sanitary Board, money market checking, $814,000, and the working capital at $457,000. And then we have the Stormwater Fund at $214,000. The only other thing I really need to mention to you is that the 22 workers' compensation renewal is going to renew at a premium of $99,809. The expiring premium is $103,709. So it actually went down to $3,000. And that's just partly what we do here is trying to keep our people working at light duty and do the reporting when we're supposed to. So it's paying off some of the functions we're doing. That's really all I had.
All right.
Thanks, Amby.
Thank you, Ann.
Amby, well done.
All right, Chief.
Chief of City Police, Matt Gregory, you got to top that, buddy.
Are we talking about the song and dance thing? I think they were thinking of me more so than Jerry. So just to reiterate what we started out with, just wanted to extend our thoughts and prayers to Mike Hoffman and his family, a speedy recovery.
Yes.
Just a few things to update council on tonight. Wade Loudon and Jonathan Warner began employment with the police department last week. They are undergoing orientation, initial training. We were hopeful in getting them into what we believed was the next available police academy class in August. However, we received notification from Charleston that one of the two classes has been canceled, and the one that is still scheduled is already full. We do have their applications in there. I'm a half class full kind of guy, so I'm still holding out hope that they at least get on the alternate list for that. So it's a wait and see because the next available class is January. So if that's the case, we are in consultation with some of the supervisory staff of the police department to explore the possibility of doing some reverse field training. Whereas most of that, or all of that, is reserved for after graduation from the academy. Because of the length of time actually starting the academy, we're exploring at least reversing 2/3 of that ahead of the academy so that we can turn them out onto the street quicker once they graduate. That being said, Jacob Garrison has submitted his letter of resignation. We knew this was a time, if this was coming. He made it official just a few days ago. His last day will actually be this Saturday, June 18th. He's taken a job with the Cumberland Police Department in Maryland. So with that, he has created another vacancy, and I believe it's on your agenda where the names from Civil Services has come up to consider for filling that vacancy. This summer, the police department will be hosting Chase Armstrong. Chase is a Glenville State student, young man from Lewis County, who will be spending a lot of time with the police department. He's actually seeking 6 credit hours, so he has to spend 8.5 hours a day with the police department through the summer. So he will be on hand with us until late July. Beyond that, the police department continues to be busy with a variety of planning meetings. We continue to meet with WAMSB. We're starting to meet on a monthly basis as we began to plan for that event, as well as I mentioned the tabletop exercise that the police department will be hosting in conjunction with St. Joseph's Hospital. Those meetings continue. We had our first initial meeting with the Director of Homeland Security here in Upshur County, our very own Steve Wyckoff, and as well as State Homeland Security, who's assisting with the writing of the tabletop exercise itself. That is scheduled for, I believe, August 14th. We had to move it back a week because of a function that the hospital was involved in the week prior. So we continue to build toward that. And then finally, the police department continues to be busy with CALEA. We did receive just yesterday our notice. As I mentioned, our first annual web assessment will be later this summer in August. And I actually received notice earlier than what I thought we would. We've already been assigned our assessor. And I was very pleased to see that it was a lady by the name of Karen Ashley. Karen is a retired deputy chief from a department in Arizona, who we're familiar with because she assessed us last spring. And so we look forward to working with her again as we move toward August and prepare our files for that. And that's all I have tonight.
Any questions for Chief Gregory?
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Stay safe.
Yes, please stay safe out there. City Attorney Tom O'Neill has deferred until we get down to strategic issues for discussion and our vote. So we are at the point where we have correspondence and information. Mr. Sanders delivered a proclamation for Marvin and Sarah Carr Day at the Upshur Parish House for their 30-year celebration last week. I think they had a nice turnout for that. So thank you for being there for that. We have ARPA project updates and miscellaneous updates from Potesta and Associates. We have a deed and an MOU from the Roman Catholic Bishop of the Diocese of Wheeling-Charleston for property exchange at the bottom of Amelia Drive. That is with the church and part of the St. Joseph's Hospital, perhaps future development in that area. We have a Leadership Upshur program. We're accepting applications. Those are due on August 1st of 2022. If you'll recall, the City of Buckhannon is a partner with the Upshur County Commission, the Development Authority, Chamber of Commerce, all to put on a program called Leadership Upshur starting this fall. And then finally we have the Buckhannon Upshur Airport Authority Treasurer's Report, May and June of 2022. Under the consent agenda, we've got the approval of the minutes for 6/2, and then we've got the approval of the building and wiring permits, and then we've got the approval of the payment of bills. I would entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented. A motion by Sheila, a second by Jack. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, motion carries. We have gone through. Bless you. You okay? Okay. We have gone through F1 and F2. So we are at F3, as Chief Gregory alluded to. We've got 3 candidates sent to council for consideration to hire, and we need to set the dates for interviews for for a position of probationary police officer. Teresa has given me here a sticky note of some potentials. We have July 12th, that is a Tuesday, open. We have, we could do it July 14th, which is a Thursday, after water board at 7:30. But we do have a WAMSB meeting at 10, so if we did that day, we either need to do it in between those two, or we need to do it in the afternoon. And then we have 7:15 which would be a Friday, that is open. So do either of those 3 dates work for anybody here for potential interview?
Could you repeat that one more time?
Sure, we would have the 12th, which is a Tuesday, the 14th in the afternoon, which is a Thursday, and the 15th, which is a Friday, and that looks to be open.
Good.
The 12th
12th is better for me.
12th is better for you.
What time will the 12th?
Well, you guys can choose.
That's Thursday the 12th?
No, that's Tuesday the 12th.
Sorry, Tuesday, yeah. Okay.
Morning or afternoon for you, Pam?
I can arrange things. Thursday, Friday's just.
CJ, do you have a preference?
Afternoon?
Afternoons?
Afternoon.
David, afternoons?
Afternoon, yeah.
Randy, afternoon?
Early afternoon, yeah.
Okay, let's maybe shoot for 1:30 or 2? 1:30? Let's do 1:30.
Okay.
So start at 1:30. 1:30 work for everybody?
Yes, sir.
That's
Okay.
on the 12th.
That's on the 12th. All right, so I'll communicate that to Teresa in the morning. Now, let me find these names.
I couldn't find them. Part of the police report?
Wheeling, Charleston. No, they're not part of the police report.
We have 3. There we go.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Jason Fitzgerald, Dylan Major, and Jonathan Toney are our 3 candidates. So let's do this as we always do. I'd entertain a motion that we accept those 3 candidates as certified from the Police Civil Service Commission. Motion by Randy, second by Pam. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like, sign opposed, motion carries. Okay, now, I'll entertain a motion that we approve July the 12th, which is a Tuesday at 1:30 in the afternoon to begin the interviews.
So moved.
Motion by Jack, second by Dave. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like, sign opposed, motion carries. Okay, I'll communicate that to Teresa in the morning. Thank you all very much. F4, we have a request from the Buckhannon Upshur Youth Council for a sponsorship to help with a movie night, movie show, youth-led Festival Fridays on July 29th in the amount of $475. CJ, do you want to speak to this?
I haven't been meeting with the youth council, but this is something they wanted to do, and we supported them. They're the ones that reached out to the city to find this funding, but I moved that we could support them with a donation of $475.
Where's the movie going to be?
Down in Jawbone Park, I believe.
Yeah.
Right?
After you guys close off this.
I'm assuming the 475 is probably going to be for a screen and for any
Whatever
apparatus.
cost involved with showing the movie.
Okay. Do we have a motion to that effect?
CJ made the motion.
Oh, CJ.
I'll second.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion by CJ, a second by Randy. Is there any further discussion on the request? July 29th, that'll be a Friday night. I'll entertain a motion, or I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like, sign opposed.
I would like to just follow up on that, Mayor, too. I think maybe as we begin our new year, July 1, we take a look at financial requests that do come into council. As I've been traveling the state, talking about why I was being asking for financial support from different governmental bodies, there is a system that you go through that I would like us to review. Maybe not be as stringent as some of the municipalities, but when I do go in to speak to a county commission or an organized group, they send me paperwork and they ask me to fill this out, and they ask me to give background on the event and the organization, if it's a 501c3, present the certification and so forth. I think we probably should tighten it up a little bit and maybe head in that direction.
Well, I think we've also discussed, I agree with you, I think we've also discussed asking for a rubric, basically, of showing us the financial statements, showing exactly what the contributions would be used for, so that it's not just a blank, hey, we're requesting X amount, and it's not just a blank check going out. That way we at least know where our contributions are going and what for, and it's all itemized out.
Right, I agree. That's just a point of discussion for now, but something we look at as we go into after July 1st.
Over the years, and Pam probably remembers this, that we oftentimes we were very reluctant to provide funds for different organizations, because once you open that up, it's just really, like an avalanche of different organizations wanting some help. And I don't have a problem with that, but, Randy, with what you're suggesting, we may at some point in time want to allocate X amount of dollars in each fiscal year budget to support different organizations that make requests to the city for help, and then have a process or procedure that we go through and determine whether or not that it would be appropriate. I don't know what that amount should be, but I think, again, with the sales tax money we have, I think a lot of this investment for these organizations to do things, and I think that'd be appropriate for us to consider that.
Thanks, Dave. Mr. O'Neill is here. As we mentioned earlier, he asked to be deferred down to strategic issues for discussion and or vote. We have F5 and F6. We have Ordinance 458 and 459 to consider. Ordinance 458 we approved on first reading last meeting. This is a second and final reading. This is concerning the membership of water and waste collection boards to look at the district geographical area in which members of these boards can come from. So I will defer to Mr. O'Neill to read the ordinance by caption, and then if there are any questions, we will entertain them.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council has before it ordinance number 458 of the city of Buckhannon, an ordinance amending in part ordinance numbers 117 and 126 of the city of Buckhannon, modifying the qualifications for members of the city's water board and waste collection board. This is the second of two readings. As the mayor said, this is to expand the pool of potential appointees to include at least, well, actually both of them, members of customers of those systems, whether they live inside or city limits or not.
Correct. This is also kosher with the West Virginia Public Service Commission. So, is there any discussion before we ask for a motion and a vote?
I think it's a great idea to expand. I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Thomas. We have a second by Mr. Rigger. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. F6.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council has before it ordinance number 459 of the city of Buckhannon, an ordinance amending prior ordinances of the city of Buckhannon by providing for the adoption of the West Virginia State Building Code set forth and defined by Title 87, Series 4 of the Code of State Rules as amended, and declaring an emergency. Now, I'd like to explain why this is an emergency ordinance and what this ordinance is about. Every couple of years, it's been 2 years since the last one, the city has to update, re-adopt the state building codes because the state fire marshal has adopted a new series of building codes. Those are laid out within the ordinance. It's a very lengthy list. I won't go through all of them, but you can read them on the third page of the ordinance. This is considered as an emergency ordinance, which means it will become effective upon adoption at second reading, because the timing, and we have to do this every time, the timing of the state fire marshal's notice to us that we have to do this does not give us enough time under our charter to have this ordinance otherwise take effect by the required date, which is August 1st of this year. If we did this, if we did first reading today, second reading at the first meeting in July, the ordinance wouldn't take effect until 30 days thereafter, which would put us in around August 8th or 9th, and then we would have basically a week of no building codes in this city. So that's why this is an emergency ordinance.
Okay.
I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, State of West Virginia.
Well, I mean, this is normal. Yeah, this happens every time.
Yeah. So we have to adopt this because it's a pass-through from the state. We have to accept what the state is giving us. So I was going to say, could we just have a motion? Do I have a motion by Randy? Do I have a second? Second by Jack. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Okay, we're down to council comments and announcements. We will begin to the left with Pamela Bucklew.
I'm really excited about the building concept for Stockard Youth Center, and I've been on that board for probably 20 years, and I think we need to move forward in it. And I want to welcome anybody who'd like to call and talk to me about it, and I do hope this is taken care of in a really timely manner, and I hope that we are breaking ground within the next 4 to 6 months. So we need to do that. And it'll be a big asset for downtown and for the people.
I agree. Thank you, Pam. CJ?
And I agree. I think this is a project that can help push us forward. I just want to try to get as many people pushing it forward as possible and consensualize this to meet the expectations of everyone in the community. And I'd like to see this broke ground before the end of the year also.
Thank you. Birthday boy?
Birthday boy, all right. Insurance that we discussed, you know, I mean, I know in commercial or business insurance, you can always anticipate about a 10% increase.
Yeah.
And so really this comes as no surprise.
Even if you've done nothing wrong.
If you've done nothing wrong or no injuries. Amby, just one question, and what's the IMOD for City of Buckhannon? Workers.
I can get that too.
It went down.
It went down? Wonderful.
We're well under 1.0.
Well under one. That was my question. And of course, I'm going to call these construction codes. Should we have Vince Smith give us a book report on these?
Vince
No.
actually was going to be here tonight, but
I'm
he had a
teasing.
family emergency.
Could you imagine? That would be,
Yeah.
that's unbelievable. But we have to be compliant.
Yeah. Anything else, John?
That's it. That's it.
Thank you. Glad you got to spend your birthday with us.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, really.
It was awesome.
Dave Thomas?
Well, Jack, happy birthday, and Robbie, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Mr. Thomas.
I think the discussion about the potential Stockard Youth and Community Center is very positive. And I'm looking forward to that facility at some point in time in the near future. Robbie, just a comment, that's your early presentation in regard to Mike Hoffman. I'm really concerned about the increase in crime in our country. It's everywhere, especially in the large metropolitan areas, but it's also going out to the smaller communities. And I think at some point in time, it might be very helpful for us to have a joint meeting with the county commission and the sheriff and the chief of police, and talk about what can we do as communities to do a better job, if we can, in regard to crime. And you always hear about that, oh gosh, we're letting, it's a revolving door, people are getting out that should be getting out, and that's more on a national level and so forth. But I think it's something that all Americans need to be concerned about in our society, and there's just a lot of different things that have gone on over the last few years that we need to be very aware of. I would also like to thank Sheila for being involved with the city of Buckhannon over the last 10 months, and look forward to hopefully working with her again sometime. Ray, her husband, was in the military along with his 2 brothers, and I've met 2 of the brothers. I met Les and Ray, and I think they're really good people. And Sheila, I appreciate your comments and everything that you've done. So that's all I have to say. God bless everybody. And I probably shouldn't say that in the council.
You can say it, Dave.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to say.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Sanders?
Again, happy birthday, guys. It's good to be celebrating your birthdays, both of you with you. Sheila, thank you for your work while you're on the city council. Good luck with your future. As far as the Walmsby events are going, we have had a lot of good information. Today we had a meeting with the Braxton County Commissioners, yesterday the Marion County Commissioners. So we'll be reporting on some of the outcome of some of those meetings. And we had a 2-hour meeting with our board today, just quickly, just to tighten up the schedule, kind of discuss some things to get ready for the next safety meeting with Chief Gregory and the emergency services personnel and so forth. So we're just a little over a year away, And it's our goal that when we hit that mid part of July of this year, that makes it a 1-year mark, we can really roll out a tight schedule and just really inform our community and our media and so forth exactly what we're looking at. And we have some hard-working folks on those on the committees now, and the board has been working hard since the beginning, so one's been shaping up really, really well. One final thing, very quick. I wasn't there at the last council meeting because I was producing the Miss West Virginia USA pageant, which is something I do in my business, and I'm thrilled that I was able to bring it to Buckhannon to make it now, and I hope in the future I can keep it here in Buckhannon. The community was very, very strong in supporting us. We almost sold out the auditorium. We had a huge audience online that purchased tickets from live stream events, so it was just a huge, huge success. And if you drove by the campus of Wesleyan on that Sunday, there wasn't a parking space to be had. So that was a tremendous thing. I want to thank Buckhannon and the community for supporting that event and the people that participated in it. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders, and thank you for bringing it here. And thank you to Wesleyan for being such a good partner for you. And I was in attendance there to support you and to support the endeavor, and it was a very, very well-run event. That screen was amazing.
LED screen.
And I also enjoyed giving the mayor of Clarksburg a hard time for blasting through 2 stop signs on the corner of College and Florida and the corner of College and Meade. He just did not even see them. And I thought, who in the world? I'm gonna. And here it's Jimmy Marino, the mayor of Clarksburg. I said, you guys just must not have stop signs over there. So, but it was a very, very nice event. So thank you for bringing that here. One thing, there's been some confusion out in the community. We are having fireworks. We are having a 4th of July event. It is going to, as we usually do, correspond with Festival Fridays. We will have it on Friday, July the 1st, following Festival Fridays when it gets dark. So between somewhere between 8:45, 9 o'clock-ish, we're going to put fireworks off at the same place that we put them off each year, behind what used to be now Citizens Bank. We'll call it the former Bill Kelly lot. That's where we'll put them off, so you'll be able to see them from Main Street, the Courthouse Plaza. You should be able to see them from Jawbone Park. We have a nice show coming, so just want to make sure that we do announce that. We are having fireworks, and it will be on Friday, July 1st. So, with that, I don't have anything else to say, but I wanted to give Sheila the last word this evening, because tonight, as we all know, is her last council meeting with us. Sheila, it's been a pleasure working with you and getting to know you over the past several months, and I appreciate your interest in city government, and I hope that you will not be a stranger to us as the months and years go on. You may want that, but we've enjoyed working with you, and we certainly wish you the best as you enter the next phase and what you decide you want to do with your future. So with that, the floor is yours.
Float in the pool.
Float in the pool. Yep.
That's what I think I'm going to do. I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you. This has been a pleasure. I've learned a lot. It's been an interesting ride. But one thing I really want to point out tonight, I want everybody out there to know, don't be bullied. Have your opinions. Do what you need to do. Stand up for what you believe in. And don't you ever allow bullies to take you down. Just don't do it. And I pray to God, I pray for these people, and I pray to God that there are some good people out there that are willing to stand up and run for city council and any of the county commissions, anything in our government. Do not be bullied. I stood. But I want to thank everybody here, and God bless the United States of America and the freedom to have your opinion. I just thank you all.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Sheila.
Council, I need to ask you for an executive session. I need to ask that you stay. We have a personnel matter that we need to discuss this evening. There will be no decisions for the media's benefit. So I would ask that we adjourn now at 8:39, allow everybody to clear the room so that we can proceed with our executive session per state code. Motion by Mr. Sanders. Thank you all very much. Have a great evening and weekend.
Y'all have a good weekend and be safe.
All right.